Hello and good day. My name is Pamela J. Vita Borda and an accountancy student in University of Mindanao. The topic for my reporting for today is linear programming, which is I am not familiar with. So I will try my very best to explain. So simplex maximization method can solve 2 to 3 or more variables by graphical method can solve only 2 variables. Next, LP model an equation for the development of the simplex method, computation facilitated by imposing requirements on delta constraints. So there are two types of requirements. All the constraints or equations with non-negative right-hand side. Next, all the variables are non-negative. Next, what we have here is converting inequalities into equations with non-negative right-hand side. Right-hand side represents the availability of the resources. Left-hand side represents the usage of the resources by all the variables. The exact amount of the right-hand side over the left-hand side then yields the unused amount of the resources. Unused amount, when you say unused, it is the slug variables that can be added to the problem to make it equal. Because there are some events that RHS and LHS has an equality. Third, to convert the inequality to an equation, a non-negative slack variables is added. So, convert an equal to equation in a negative slack variable is called, like for example, 10 times 10 x sub 1 plus 210 x sub 2 is equals to, repeat, how will you make it equal? So, we will add a slot variables to make it equal. Next. So, this is our problem. We have a problem, guys. Gino's the production manager of the blue shampoo and so on and so forth. Here, what we have here in the next slide is we need to convert it to an objective function. So, this is our objective function. So, x sub 1 plus 8 x sub 2 subjected to constraints. So, here's our mixing, bottling, and packing. And our x sub 1 represents the number of the pieces of the men's shampoo. And x sub 2 represents the case of women's shampoo. And we also added 3 slices, S1 and S2 and S3. Next. Here, we need to distribute the button to the other side. We need to distribute our 6x sub 1 plus 8x sub 2 to the left side, and it will be a negative side. Here's the final objectives and another examples of that is we need to put it on the table and solve it. Here. We already arranged at an data and their corresponding variables, and then next we will solve and we will find their entering value and leaving value. So, and looking for the enter value is we need to find or select the most negative coefficient. So, obviously our most negative coefficient is negative 8. It's from x sub 2, and after that, to find the computer ratio of RHS of the equations by entering the value and look for the minimum acceleration. So, we need to divide the RHS to our entering value, entering value, which is x sub 2. So, 0 over negative 8 is equals to 0. So, next, 100 divided by 210 is equals to 10. 84 divided by 27 is equals to 12. 90 divided by 5 is equals to 8. So, obviously, our entering value or our pivot row is 10. And next, as you can see here, I put a circle and a number here. And that is our pivot element. So, what is pivot element anyway? Pivot element, this is the intersection of pivot, wood flow, and the private pivot. So, our pivot element is a big part of our solving. Next, here, because we need to divide our pivot element to our current pivot row to make it new pivot row coefficient. So, 5 divided by 10 is equals to 1 half. And 10 divided by 10 is equals to 1. 1 divided 1 over 10 is 1. 0 over 10 is 0. Again, 0 over 10 is 0. And 100 divided by 10 is 10. Next. Okay, here. So, here's our final favorite column. So, next we need to solve it by using the formula euro is equals to current row minus private column coefficients times. So here the result that we minus our current growth or pivot column coefficient and then multiply it to our new pivot. So as you can see, there are only one negative left or negative 2 here. So we need to solve it from the top to make it effective. What we do first is to look for the most negative coefficient. Obviously, it's negative 2. It's from x sub 1 and then distribute x sub 1 into our S1. And then next is we need to find our favorite row, which is we need to find the ratio, the RHS and the x sub 1. So we need to find the minimum pivot coefficient and then divide at 10 divided by 1. 1 half is equals to 20. 14 divided by 7 over 2 is equals to 4. 40 divided by 13 over 2 is equals to 80 over 13. So, obviously, our new pivot row is 4 or x sub 1 as long as 1, and next is we need to find our pivot elements. Obviously, our pivot elements is 1 because this is the intersections of our pivot and pivot row. Next, here, this is we need to solve it. So from the formula, euro is equals to current row minus pivot column coefficients times new pivot row. So negative 2 minus 0 times 1 half. 0 minus 0 times 1, 4 minus 4 over 5 minus negative 2 times 1 is equals to 2 over 5, and so on and so forth. So as you can see, there is no negative, and we also get all the results. So 88 for our z, 88 for our z. Here, 88 for our z. Our RHS is 88. For our x sub 2 is RHS 8. Here, x sub 2. For our RHS, x sub 1 is 4. As you can see here, 4. There. So, in our last x3, RHS is 14. So, we will solve it to our main objective. This is our main objective here. So, z is 88, x sub 2 is 8, our x sub 1 is 4, and our slot 3 is 14. So, if we need to distribute it by the number, it will become 5 times 4, which is x sub 1 plus 10 times 8 is equals to 100. 7 times our x sub 1 is 4. Plus 7 times our x sub 2 is, which is 8, is equals to 84. As you can see, it's not equal. It's equality. So this is the use of our S3 or slack 3. So 9 times 4 plus 5 times 8 is equals to 76. So this is use of our slacks Q14 is we'll need to add it to our talking, which is 76 plus 14 is equals to 90. And that's all. Thank you.